welcome Chris Jordan. So I'm gonna give it a little brief background really quick. Chris Jordan is a native of Baton Rouge, the CEO and founder of OmniDeck. Chris has been in the technology sector for over 13 years, has successfully developed and executed 2 multinational licensing agreements, most notably with Sage and accounting software. Chris's expertise in product market placement, product design, fundraising, and path to market strategies are things that we'll focus on today, and things we're going to hopefully hear some stories on. So welcome, Chris.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. These are weird circumstances. We have come here with our social spacing. We're going to be recording for Monday's event. Given everything that's going on, first and foremost, how you holding up, man?
We're doing good. We, started the week, we went virtual. So for us, we usually have everybody's together, and we've got a really good kind of community, family vibe at our company. Everybody really cares about each other. And so it's kind of been a little disruptive a bit because we have a morning stand-up meeting, and we all have a lot of camaraderie in the office. And so we've replaced that with Microsoft Teams, and we still have camaraderie. It's just virtual camaraderie now.
Right.
And but we're doing our part, to kind of hedge that. And then I've had to made a video for our shareholders just to kind of keep them in the loop on what we're doing. And we're kind of like everybody else. We're just kind of seeing. Hopefully this is a 2-week thing, 3-week thing, but then making preparations if it's not.
If it's longer, absolutely. Yeah. And so before this, all 14 of your team members in Louisiana in an office with you. Anyone out of state or virtual or remote?
No,
okay.
We are homegrown.
Yeah.
I would say everybody's an LSU fan, but that's a lie. But for the most part, we've always been tempted to go and outsource development, and part of the deal is I'm not a developer, so I need to have a really close communication on, hey, I think this button should do this or whatever.
Right.
And so that wasn't going to be good across oceans at different parts at night and whatnot. So, but our team is really great. I'd put them up against any team in Silicon Valley on kind of their experience, but also what they've pulled off with OmniDeck.
I love it. So I want to get into the team more a little later on. Let me ask, how's the team doing? Everybody okay? Safe,
Yeah.
Okay.
They're probably enjoying working from home a little bit.
Yeah, I bet.
And so usually there's a couple of stragglers that are 5-10 minutes late for our stand-up meeting.
Yeah.
You don't have that excuse.
Right.
Traffic wasn't too bad for the team's meeting, but
absolutely.
No, we're doing good, and we have a pretty well-run organization too. We have a lot of repetitive kind of reporting through managerial reporting back to us. So we've got a pretty good pulse on what's going on in the projects, and kind of keeps everybody heads down, which helps right now for sure.
Yeah, well, we'll keep it up. Hey, look, this is going to be a challenge, I think, for so many. It's interesting. I've had a few calls with people this week who downloaded Zoom for the first time. And they're telling me, they said, I told my wife I'm about to FaceTime or something with someone. I'm like, okay, this is great. Being a already remote team, it's I'll say I've learned more this week than I have in the last year about remote work because everyone is posting about it. So even those that are remote, I think we're learning something too. So let me kind of get into that background. Homegrown here in Baton Rouge, but let's just take a step back for a moment. Who is Chris Jordan before OmniDeck? Where did that story start?
Yeah, so I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. Let me start with that. So I was always going to play professional golf. That was what I wanted to do, and spent my whole life kind of preparing for that. And some unfortunate events with an injury, and not being a rich person, you only get a very small window, and wasn't able to execute on that. So I kind of found myself, 22, 23, knowing I didn't want to give lessons for the rest of my life, and wanted to do something special and impactful, and have all this competitive juices from being in sports all my life. The only outlet really for that I was attracted to was entrepreneurship. And because it was something that you could, as hard as you worked, you had a direct impact on how successful you could be.
Absolutely.
And so the disadvantage of that, unlike Mark Zuckerberg, right, who could actually code in the middle of the night, I can't do anything other than try to find people that are smarter than me and put them together. And so that's kind of how we started. I started selling software at first to kind of get in the market. got tired of making other people rich, and then I said, I want to get into the industry.
And take us in a little deeper. This is what year is this? This is you're still in your early 20s?
Yeah, so I
started selling?
Yeah, so I've got a funny story about that. The reason I got out of the golf business is because the country club I was at went out of business. And you're talking about the middle of the recession, so into 2008, 2009. And I was in a windowless room, cold calling construction companies in the middle of the recession. And a lot of, especially if you're young, you don't remember what that's like. But every company was just gradually going out of business, especially in construction. So they weren't spending any money, and here I am trying to sell a pretty large ticket item to scared companies that didn't want to make a decision. And that was one of the biggest blessings that I had, because I was able to hear all the objection. I must have been told no, 10,000 times in a couple of years, but whenever you hear no and you hear why people are what they're really looking for, or why they're not making decisions, you really understand how transactions work, right? How you move cash from one entity to another.
Because it's easy selling in an optimistic environment where everyone has that free cash flow, and it's a little easier, right? Because people can make decisions, but you're trying to make decisions in a very difficult time.
And you're justifying the entire time. Like, why do I need to make this environment when the economy is great and everybody's got money? They're spending money because they like it or whatever else. You're trying to really justify return on investment. And software is notorious. That's usually why they're buying technology, is because they have some problem and there's a cost associated to it. So that's really kind of how we got started. And then I think there was a trade show that I went to, and ever been to a trade show, there's a bunch of vendors, right? Sure. Usually they're technology vendors. And I'm sitting there and I'm kind of, 23, 24, and looking at, there's 15 companies that do time apps where you put your timesheet in. There's another 3 or 4 that do project management, and another 3 or 4 that do service work. And you start looking at it, and it's like, man, it's 6 pieces of information, and then somebody needs to look at it and approve it, and then there's some reporting. There's a kind of a universal undercurrent that we just observed from that. I said, man, if somebody could ever figure out how to build an application where it didn't matter what information you were gathering, it was more about the assembly line of all your entire team inside of a single application affecting work process. That's what Henry Ford and the assembly line, right? It's just that applied to business. Yeah. So that's really kind of where OmniDeck came from.
So one that could apply to any business.
Any business, any market,
So you're not really looking to say, my feature is a timesheet, my feature is this reporting. No, you're just saying whatever your process is, plug it in. Is that a good understanding of it?
Where I think a lot of companies are in regards to technology is that they're buying technology now for the sake of having technology. Yeah. And once you buy one app that does one thing and it starts and stops, there's now a gap where there's nothing. So you got to go buy something else, and it's kind of this whack-a-mole philosophy of buying technology. Whereas if you kind of dumb it down to 6 pieces of information, your manager needs to look at it and it needs to go somewhere, then it kind of makes all the sense in the world, because then you get your entire team. They're not bouncing between 7 or 8 different business apps trying to approve something or review something. They're actually all in one ecosystem. Yeah. And big companies do this in an intranet portal, but they spent $3-4 million to do it. Okay. So that's usually the problem.
So now we're into OmniDeck. This is you found OmniDeck, but so in that moment, you're at this trade show, you're seeing all these. Where did the idea begin to form? Because sometimes we can observe other people's problems, but then sometimes we're sitting there banging our head on the computer. Was it just the trade show that started to get the wheels turning, or did you have to deal with any of it on your end when you were selling?
No, I think that the trade show was really the kind of defining moment for me. Yeah. And then so where I kind of pivoted directly into that is, okay, I really want to take the plunge and get into the tech business, and I want to start my own thing. And not being a developer, when I start talking about not being a Zuckerberg, I can't write anything. So you have to create something. Well, those people have to get paid, right? So you can't start with nothing. I don't have that luxury. So one of the things that we did is that, my skill set's being able to sell. So we did kind of to raise the first initial slug of cash. We took this, hey, here's what we're building, this forms tool with some workflow and whatever else. And I went to a lot of the customers that I already had relationships with, and I said, listen, this thing's going to be about $20,000 when we're done. I want you to buy it. I'm going to give it to you for 10, but you got to give me $5,000 up front before I write it, and then $5,000 when I deliver it in 6 months, right? So what I did that about 40 or 50 customers. So I raised about $200,000 to get started, right? And then from there, and I'd be lying if I said, oh, it was just smooth sailing after that.
Yeah.
No, it was a disaster once we delivered it, because you're writing it with a junior developer, and it just kind of it's not Salesforce, right?
Well, and now the pressure's on. You have 50 companies who are like, my 5K's sitting over there. What is it doing?
When's the deliverable?
Yeah.
So,
did you have a hard delivery day? What was that experience? Okay.
Yeah, we had a hard delivery date that we missed, of course. But the whole deal is that it's just progress.
Okay.
I mean, you're moving. At no point in time were we misleading anybody. It's just, hey, there's more features we're putting in. The first version we put out there had issues with it, so we had to shore it up before we rolled this other company out. And this is what, if you were going to start a company with nothing, this is just kind of part and parcel of what it is.
Interesting.
But what that was able to do for us was to prove market demand and a price point that was acceptable.
Absolutely.
Right? So we were actually, and I think this is a big thing for entrepreneurs, is that if you're raising $50,000 in cash and you're trying to build your prototype or your application, you're not building your end-all application. You're building the prototype.
Sure.
Like, don't think you're building it, because if you took something you wrote for $50,000 into Silicon Valley, they would laugh at it.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
So I think as long as you know that, hey, I'm just proving this thing out.
Yeah.
We're trying to figure out if it's a thing, and we had that proof that, hey, this is a thing. Companies want it, and then from there we created enough of a swell to where that opened up the venture capital lines, and that's where we've been successful now. Right, we've raised over $2.5 million in seed round to trash.
That's awesome.
Trash the old version and rewrite the new one like we should.
Absolutely. And so that's it's interesting. This is the fourth fireside chat here in Baton Rouge that we've done, and in every single chat we talk about don't overdo it the first time. We can't really emphasize that enough. I feel the pain deep down, because we did that. We tried to, we built 9 features in the first mentor platform, and we built every tweak, every little thing that we thought was awesome. We did, and when we beta tested it, they used maybe one. Sometimes they used the second one, and the rest of them just sat there because it wasn't proven yet. So I think that says a lot. So before, how did you get to that? Tell me, this concept of selling up front, not to investors, but selling to the customer up front and then going and building. Was that something that you learned from a previous company? Is that something you found, maybe you tested with a little people? How did you come to that decision?
So there's a buying curve, bell curve, right? And there's an early stage on that, which are the people that just want to be the early adopters. And they're technology enthusiasts. Some of them are under a charter from their business, like especially in construction, where you have general contractors they're bidding on buildings, and they're trying to overly show how technologically advanced they are so that they'll win the bid, because you want to work with a good company, right? So some of them have play money, and they're doing nothing but, hey, look, let's get early on with this company. We can kind of direct how they develop it, so we'll end up getting what we really want, and we don't have to be in the tech business. So that's a normal thing. The issue, though, is that there's a book called Crossing the Chasm, which is a great book for entrepreneurs.
Crossing the Chasm.
Because what ends up happening is you go and you make obligations to the initial guys, right? And then you generally cut super sweet deals, so the cash isn't there to justify it, and you get stuck just doing goofy one-off features that no one else needs except for this one client, and they're holding you over the barrel. And so one of the things that why we ditched the old version and wrote the new one and raised enough cash to be able to do it is that I wasn't under the heat of a customer to design OmniDeck. It was the full breadth of all the lessons learned and how we did certain things, some of the bastardized ways that we had to do some custom one-offs. We built an application that could facilitate that at a commercial and scalable level. And that's one of those things where a lot of those companies, if you're not raising enough cash and you have to go to cash revenue first or too early, you just end up handicapping the vision of your product. And that's really where lifestyle companies come from, is that they can't be sold, they don't have explosive growth because they're too tied to a niche.
Right. And so you're trying to explode. You're not trying to be a lifestyle company.
No.
I think we've seen that. Yeah. Okay, so I see what inspired you to do this. Okay, take us. So how many years are you in this now? In doing OmniDeck?
OmniDeck 4.
4. Okay. Do you mind if we rewind to year 1 really quick?
Sure.
Okay, that's probably a good grimace year. Every time,
Yeah.
just personally, every time we talk to people, it's just the first time.
Yeah.
So let's go to that first year. Outside of the challenges in getting it built, what were some of those big hurdles for you?
I ran out of money.
Yeah.
60 days before my first round came in.
Okay.
So I was in the middle of due diligence with 3 VCs that were interested. I had an international licensing agreement in place, and I had them, starting to knock on the door. I bought a development company that was going to be my tech arm. Out of Denham Springs. And a week later, the flood happened.
Oh, okay. So, 2016. Go ahead.
That's right. So we went 60 days. I've got an email that I wrote myself, my last day of LAC, and it was about, I think it was like on a Friday. We were going to be closing on Tuesday, and we closed about $900,000 the first round. And I remember I had, I think, negative $1,000 in my personal and in the business account. I couldn't make payroll. I had no money coming in other than the wire that was coming.
Sure.
And I was walking to work, right? And this is I mean, you talk about be at your end, right?
Yeah.
And walking to work, and I finally get to this point where I was like, you know what, I'm kind of over. I have nothing left to give.
Yeah.
This is and it was a nice thing because I knew that I had the capital coming. So it was just kind of this last kind of peace moment where, look, I can't do anything about it. This is the absolute bottom. You might as well document it. So I wrote this letter to myself just saying, hey, this is your last day of LAC. I've always felt, I'm a pretty spiritual guy, so I've always felt like this was kind of a calling. Sure. And I said, the greatest people in the Bible were brought to their end, Job, a lot of those people. And I said, this is just my season, so I might as well enjoy it, right? Yeah. And so I documented it on what it was going to, just kind of being thankful for the misery to a degree, but knowing that, where you're made empty, he can be made full. Sure. That was always the kind of the testament underneath the issue or the event. And from out of that, we created OmniDeck. It was just a very big thing, and I've always been so thankful of it because you really figure out how committed you are to something.
Absolutely.
Based on how.
Have you gone back to that letter?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. I have a running list of letters. People that have told me no, things like that. That they're just fuel the hate fire.
Absolutely. I have a prove them wrong folder in my emails.
You got to.
You have to count. Sometimes you have to count out the no's. Yeah. So you said this last day of LAC.
Yeah.
What is that? Is that the previous company?
No, the last day of just being personal LAC.
Last day of LAC. Interesting. LAC. Okay. And then so you said then OmniDeck started.
Yeah. So our investors that came in were Core Associates, Louisiana Fund, and Innovation Catalyst.
Got it.
And so they wrote about a $900,000 check, and there was a tranche in there, which effectively got us out to market and got us going. And there's a lot of water under the bridge from there, but ultimately that got us.
This is the end of 2016, or you got into 2017 now?
Into 2017. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Funding. I see. Look. You're actually someone I've actually spoken about you before to other entrepreneurs that I've met with and at these StartupGrind events. You're one of the few people that have, to what we can see publicly, have raised a good amount of capital here in the state.
Sure.
But I think it's fair to say that capital for technology companies isn't so readily available, and if it is, the process and the access isn't like some of these other tech hubs, so we have these sometimes barriers. What was one of the problems or the main one for you when you were trying to go about raising money here?
So that's a big, there's a bunch, Tom.
Yeah.
So let's talk about just raising capital in general.
Okay.
So if I was going to say what's the common theme of entrepreneurs here, not the investors, the entrepreneurs, is that they would be the first one to tell you, and if you'll listen to them, they'll talk your ear off about they haven't been able to raise capital, there's no access to capital, whatever else. And one of the things that my investors have taught me, not trying to teach me, but just being in the Shark Tank and getting hammered, is the fact that they don't care about what the product is. They don't care about your vision. They don't care about any of that. They may put that on their website, but they don't. They want their return. And I've learned what a fiduciary responsibility is. Right? And the only thing that's important to them is management. And they want to write you one check, and they don't want to write you another one. Right? And I've had to learn that because I've had People write me multiple checks because we had to, right? And what the thing that the biggest lesson I've learned is that the CEO raises the money, right? That's the best lesson that I could say. The CEO raises the money. So if you're in the middle of a pitch and you're pitching to a VC and they talk about how much money you've raised and you go through a long dissertation about the troubles that you've had or the issues, the absence of capital, whatever else. Appreciate they know that Jim Bernhardt raised $2 billion. He lives here on Highland Road.
Yeah.
Right? There's a guy that owns 600 Raising Cane's. He lives here in Baton Rouge, right? So it's not like there's no money here.
Right.
It speaks more to you as an entrepreneur.
If you can.
Yeah, if you can, right?
Okay.
And money is stubborn, right? This is a good analogy. If you were at a hot air balloon race, okay, and you had a blue hot air balloon laying on the ground, it was a big tall one and skinny, and this one's red and it's short and fat. Which one would you want?
The hot air balloon?
Not
the short and fat one.
Huh? You'd want the one in the air.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's full of hot air.
Yeah.
Right? The other ones are tarps laying on the ground.
Yeah.
And what the funny thing about money is it's stubborn. It doesn't matter where it comes from. It can be old lady money or grandma's money. It can be mattress money. It can be across 31 shareholders like it is with us. But money makes an idea a thing, right?
Absolutely.
Hot air makes a hot air balloon a thing, right? And until you get to that point, it's just a hobby. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so I think that if I was going to do it again, and I'm speaking from, if I was a tech guy, I could talk about the tech stack and how great it is and whatever else.
Sure.
Because I'm not, and I'm the sales guy, we have an advantage as a company because I can go pitch it, right? And I'm always pitching it to whoever will listen, right?
First time I got on the phone.
Yeah.
You said, hey, do you know OmniDeck?
Yeah.
I'm like, kind of, let me tell you. And you jumped right into it.
But it's true.
But
my wife could tell you
too.
Yeah. Yeah, so what I think that a good entrepreneur, if you know that you're the tech brains, and there's nothing wrong with that, you have to have the tech brains to be able to pull something off, right? Get buddies with a freaking dude that can pitch it.
Absolutely.
You know, and then you got to have a yin and a yang.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
And
so we went the opposite route. I found a technical co-founder.
Yeah.
You know, not the tech side,
right.
but the first thing I was like, okay, and a lot of young entrepreneurs I completely agree with this with this testament is that you have to find the thing you're not good at and go find the person to do it. Because you're not going to be able to Google each piece of that. Yeah. You're not going to be able to go to your advisors every single day with those questions. It has to be the other arm.
Sure.
Did you find that in your team early on? Or when you made the I don't know if pivot is the word for what you changed into, but to OmniDeck?
Yeah, so I will tell you, there's a lesson. When I say everybody was an LSU fan, I'm a Nick Saban fan, so forgive me. But the reason I'm a Nick Saban fan is because
we might as well just cut this off, guys. We might as well
this is my Alabama.
All right, let's take these down. Okay.
Yeah. No, so
you didn't have to say. I'm just joking. Continue.
One of the greatest lessons that Nick Saban has is he talks about overachievers don't have anything to do with mediocre people and vice versa. And one of the lessons that I learned throughout that whole process is that you were going to have people that were committed to what you wanted to do, and they were going to be successful, and they weren't working for you. They were working for themselves. They wanted the best product because their name was on it, not because it was a 40-hour work week or whatever else. We have a team, and we've had to get to this point because I've probably gone through. There's probably been 35 people that have worked for OmniDeck, which is a lot when you have a 14-man team.
Absolutely.
But it's because
four short years.
Yeah, but and some people will look at that as chaos. I look at it as fire. Yeah. And guess what? They generally opted not to want to work here because they don't like being felt mediocre because everybody else is busting their ass. And it just weeds itself out. When I can walk into a meeting, we have a 5-minute meeting every morning, and then I don't talk to everybody. They're heads down. They know what they're doing. They're busting their ass. Yeah. Everybody's got part of the option pool. This is just what we do as a company. And it's taken a lot of time to get to that point. But a lot of those lessons have been, kind of like the team pushing out people that, in the dev team or in the services team or whatever else. Everyone's outworking each other, and they're not working because Chris said work.
Right,
what I mean? So it's just one of those things that we've had to, go through that, which has not been fun. Yeah. But we're here now, and that's why I say I'd take our team over anybody.
And so where you are today in your team, did you grow your team from the the ground up, and in terms of experience. So, or did you go find the best and try to pull the best, or were there some people that, because I'll even say this, probably switching it back to you, you probably have exponentially grown just in the short period of time, right?
Sure.
So where'd your team start?
So we don't hire based off of resume or college degree.
Okay.
What I like to do is when I evaluate people, that it's for sure, I can generally tell if they've been overachievers or not. Like when I interview somebody, I don't really talk to them about what they've done professionally. I talk about what their hobbies are and what they do.
Yeah.
Like one of our lead, one of our co-creators, he was a world championship weightlifter, right? That shows self-determination.
Yeah.
He took work ethic and whatever else. But he worked for a big company, and he was the dude, the IT guy that was writing, any kind of little service project, whatever else. So it showed me just in kind of through his interview process and evaluation process, like this dude's seen some shit, and he's made it wherever he's been. He's pulled it off, right? Because at the end of the day, when you're using the latest and greatest technology, like we're on, Angular and Azure Cloud and whatever else, this didn't exist 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So there's no expert in anything,
Absolutely.
right? So, and it's the people that are willing to go invest in themselves, go read and do their own self. Those are the guys you
That's
want.
amazing. Yeah.
They'll figure it out,
Okay. And so your team's at 14. Okay, so you don't look at resumes. You don't look at
I do look at resumes.
Degrees.
but I don't.
Chris, if you give me a resume, I burn it. I just burn it. I couldn't agree more. I gotta take a moment. I'll do shout out to my own co-founder. He's written algorithms that after he finishes, he goes, I'll be honest, I don't know if I could finish that one. And I'm like, you haven't done that before? He goes, no. I'm like, great.
Yeah.
But they learn.
Yeah.
These people, this team of yours, you take them over Silicon Valley. Are they predominantly from the Baton Rouge area, or have you been able to lure some people to move to?
They are from far off places like Zachary, Louisiana, and Prairieville. But our team's homegrown.
Wow.
With the one exception, we have a kid from Nepal,
Okay.
and actually another kid from Nepal. He actually went to go work for Amazon Web Services, which is maybe an upgrade. I don't know. But we love Southeastern because they do a lot of project development work.
So I went to Southeastern. So did my co-founder. So maybe that's part of the reason.
It's a big deal because when you've built a project, you're not just working on just a piece of it, right? You kind of understand how a team works and whatever else. And one of the guys, his name's Vivek. He's just a great dude and just super super smart. And he does DevOps for us. And DevOps is kind of an interesting thing. It's a very Silicon Valley. You got to have that answer. The scalability of the platform. You got to have that answer when you go in. Look for larger stage capital, and he does a great job. And these, I always tell my guys, like, there's no one behind you, right? Like if you want to work for IBM, you could leave and no one would know, right? And IBM's still IBM, but here you're the freaking DevOps dude, right? So own it.
You're the guy.
You are the guy. There's nobody behind you, and so everybody that works for us takes that responsibility, and so they're always learning. And I'm gonna tell you, when we're at the office from 7 to 7. When I leave at 7, there's dudes still working. And just because they're committed to what they're doing and they're trying to build the best work product possible.
And you make it part of them. Like you said, you have the option pools. Maybe you've done vesting agreements. You've done things to keep them and incentivize them to not just work today, but work for the future of the company, right?
Sure.
That way, the more valuable the company, the more valuable their shares. So actually, I want to dive into that just for a moment. Because it's something we didn't know early on. We implemented later, just vesting agreements for ourselves, putting aside things for employees, advisors. What's the value of using the shares that you have, the equity within your company to build a team, to bring on employees, and if you've done it, it seems like you have. What's been your experience with it?
Yeah, so I think we have like a 22% option pool, which is pretty big. Considering, but the cynical thing about it is that it does kind of put handcuffs on somebody, that hey, look, you're a value add to us. We don't want you to go anywhere. We want to reward you with stock, but you got to vest them as you're here. That's kind of the legal reason, or not illegal, but that's why you do it, professionally. But I've always looked at this because I couldn't do it on my own. I wanted to share the
Okay.
value, right? And those guys aren't in the board meetings, right?
Yeah.
And so they can't fight for their equity, you know. So it's my job to do that for them. And that's what, I mean, these guys, I talk to them about my experiences at board meetings. I talk to them about where we're headed.
Yeah.
And because a couple of things are important, I think, as a CEO, is that they have to trust you. They have to trust that you're out there working for them on their behalf. It's also a good cop, bad cop thing when the board's the bad guy and you're the good guy.
Yeah.
But you know, you're trying your hardest to, you know, prove to them that, hey, we're doing this together. We are a family. I'm not just saying that so you'll work hard.
Yeah.
I'm saying that because you guys are my brothers and sisters, and we're trying to pull something off special here.
I love that. Okay, so you're trying to, you know, go supernova, right?
Sure.
You're trying to grow, and I think I've heard you speak of it before, and I'm going to ask you here in a moment where you think the future of OmniDeck is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but as a founder and as a CEO, not only does that responsibility always remain, the responsibility of working for your employees, working for your team, you know, is there anything you've done to try to keep that mindset and keep a level head about that? And I only say that because you have a board now, right? But you're still early, you know, 4 years. You know, you're going to exponentially grow. Have you thought about that? Like how that might affect you? Might affect you and your team as you begin to grow?
You mean my relationship with the team?
And how to maintain that same passion and that direct contact. Actually, forget contact. That responsibility that you have to them as you go. Because, you know, 4 years in, and you're like, I'm the good cop, they're the bad cop.
Sure.
And there's some you know truth there. But how do you see that relationship changing over the years?
Well, I will tell you this. The way that we manage our group is that we do have a pretty good crew, pretty good size group for a startup, pre-revenue, right? But everyone is building their department. They're not building their position.
Gotcha.
So like my QA/QC manager, he's only doing QA right now, right? But he's building test scripts. He's building knowledge base articles. He's building his tech department. So when I drop a new dude in there, he knows what he's doing, right? He's managing it, right? Lauren's our newest hire. She's going to be our head of we call them OmniDeck data genius. They're business analysts that work with clients directly. She's building content, video content, scripting content, so that she can perfect. This is a Nick Saban thing. 60 minutes of hell is what we call it.
Gotcha.
Because in 60 minutes we can implement 6 or 7 work processes that it took you 6 months and 6 vendors to do. So that's our 60 minutes of hell.
At OmniDeck.
At OmniDeck.
Gotcha.
So her job is to perfect that 60 minutes, right?
Okay.
So she's not there just learning how to train the software. She's building something.
Right.
And everybody in there is building their departments out. And then also, too, we implement, and I think this helps to just everybody feeling that they have ownership of, which they do, is that we use OmniDeck. So we have a form that is a feature request form, and everyone in the company can fill it out. And that becomes the agenda whenever we're scoping out the next sprint. And, you know, we're using our chat log and kind of beating up the process and whatever else. But everyone has a say. I bet there's every person in our company has some touch on the software from a feature request. And that's a big deal, you know, when you have that arena. And we have a design committee, which now is, frankly, everybody in the company. But we hope to maintain that because, you know, the customer experience and onboarding should have a say in how the software functions when you're onboarding, right? For the QA/QC guy, the trainer.
You have someone selling the software who they can see problems, they can see things that need to come out. You have the dev, you have the CEO, you have everybody. I get that.
And using the software helps too, because you know exactly what the problems are.
Yeah, man, yeah.
Not that there are problems.
No, there's no problems, by the way. Anyone wonder, there's no problems. Yeah. So man, kudos to you, you know, kudos to the progress. And so what's next? I know you're raising around. Can you take us into the vision of the next maybe 5 years?
Yeah, sure.
If that's not too far out.
No, I mean, so this is going to be the telltale. So $2.5 million in cash to build it.
Gotcha.
And it's 3 features of our application. So you appreciate how freaking they're ready for scale, right? The reason we had to go to that level, and not all companies have to do that. If you're just trying to, sell, a couple hundred clients maybe a year, great. You don't have to go to that level.
Right.
You can kind of build it as you go. Lifestyle company. Ours is a little bit different because there's two companies that we study very, very heavily. A lot of people think Microsoft is the fastest growing software company ever to exist. It's not.
Yeah.
Salesforce is. And Salesforce is because they were CRM in the cloud before everyone else. Everyone was installing CDs while they were delivering in the cloud. So it wasn't that they were some great CRM system. They were just so far out in front of everybody that they could provide it quickly over the internet and take off running. Plus Larry Ellison was on their board, which helped. But they raised a ton of cash, but took them 3 years to build it, and they had early pre-revenue success, and then they raised a ton of cash to really light it on fire. The other one that we look at is DocuSign. DocuSign really doesn't market their product. Their customers using DocuSign invites new people in that didn't know about DocuSign. Say, oh, this is easy.
Yeah.
This is way better than signing something and printing it, right? So it's viral product awareness.
Yeah.
So what OmniDeck was built to do was in studying that, what's the next frontier? Like CRM systems, there's a million CRM systems out there,
yes.
right? Well, portals is the next frontier. Think about a website maybe 15, 20 years ago. Not everybody had a website, right? In the future, everyone will have a portal. And a portal is just a multi-dimensional website, but it's where you can actually interact with the business, right? Amazon.
Can you explain the differentiation of what you're describing as a portal to what some people maybe think as an intranet?
Yeah.
Are they the same?
They're the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's effectively a web site that a company, and let's say you're a subcontractor that does flooring and you work with some big general contractor. Well, you got to get qualified, so you got to fill out a pre-qual form, you got to get paid, you got to submit a pay app, you got to answer RFIs, you have to interact with the business, warranty requests. There's in the same way that we go to Amazon and we give them our order and then they deliver it, that's a portal. It's just a B2C portal, right? B2B is a little bit different. There's forms and compliance and attachments and supporting documentation that drive the business. And today we're using email and attachments to fire these things back and forth, and that's what, say, companies suck at doing business together. That's why. So in the future, we believe that whoever allows companies to create their own intranet portal and allow their customers and vendors to come in and collaborate and submit forms and approve things together without email, they're going to kill it. They're going to be the replacement. And a lot of people don't realize this, but Facebook is a portal. You're going into Facebook and you have friends and contacts and you use Messenger to talk and communicate and write on walls, right? That's what a portal is, just a B2B or B2C. OmniDeck is business Facebook. Instead of somebody commenting on a photo, right, they're actually commenting on the payment application. Right? So in the same way that we can have multiple interactions with our friends in Facebook, and you have different friends than I have different friends, OmniDeck is the same way. It's just not friends, it's businesses that I interact with.
So is in that definition is Microsoft Teams a portal? Is Slack a portal?
Microsoft Teams is an element of it because it's chat.
An element of,
it's chat, but it misses the business process element to it, right?
Yeah.
So what we do right is that we take the idea of an e-signature, DocuSign, a form and a process, which is a file, whatever, and a chat, and we put it all together. So we've got all those utilities there to create kind of this really tight, secure interaction between two businesses, right? So it's in simplistic case, the reason we think that we're going to kind of grow pretty quickly is that our application is cheap, relatively speaking. To implement most big companies have intranet portals where all their forms and workflows are in it. They may invite their customers and subs to come in. They spent $4 or $5 million on that. That's why the Fortune 500 companies have portals. If you go work for them, this is the intranet portal. It's got everything you need in it. Well, small businesses don't have that luxury until OmniDeck, right? So for a couple $100 a month, you've now
a couple $100 a month.
That's it, and I can implement
How many people? How many people?
Up to 10 users.
Up to 10? That's not bad.
And unlimited subcontractors. You could have 1 million subcontractors, and you invite them
unlimited.
In. Unlimited.
Couple hundred.
Yeah. So think about what we do is like we kind of create a mini version of the way Facebook worked. Is that you may not remember this, y'all are kind of young, but LSU got Facebook first, and it used to be the university. Right. And I went to Nichols for the first year. We didn't have Facebook, and I'm like, what? We want Facebook, right? Well, the same thing's true as like the company that's paying me that I have a relationship with, I trust them, right? They have OmniDeck. Oh, I want OmniDeck. This is easy, right? So that's what we call viral product awareness.
Absolutely.
Right? So we had to be able to have a platform that could have 1 billion users on it quickly. And so that's why the infrastructure investment was the rewrite was required.
Right.
In order, if not, everyone would laugh at you that you're trying to pull something off with weak architecture. So if you're looking at checking all the boxes, you've got, okay, Portals is way out in front of everybody else. I'm competing with 6-month, 12-month build outs and $1 million for $25 a user, right?
Okay.
I've got viral product awareness, people inviting us in. I can close one big contractor that may have 10,000 subcontractors that now, guess what? Users of OmniDeck. Not paid yet, but we believe that that'll permeate,
yeah.
right?
So you believe there'll be a network effect there.
Network effect.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And it's funny because just to your example of DocuSign, I think it took about four times, 5 times after people kept sending me DocuSigns and I signed it. And as soon as you're done signing, it says, do you want to make an account to view all your signed documents? I'm like, hell no, I don't.
Yeah.
And then after the 4th time, I'm like, well, it's been a few documents now. Maybe I should, right?
Build your business network.
Absolutely.
Right.
So now I'm like, okay, well, and then as soon as I signed in, boom, there was every document that I had signed. I was like, okay. Well, as long as you use the same email, right? Yeah. So then it stays synced.
Well, the last thing that we do that is the most valuable thing, and this is what I think, I believe, and this is me making a stupid comment, but I believe we are potentially the most valuable software company to ever exist.
Okay.
I know I'm saying that.
Explain it, yeah.
So the reason companies become super valuable, and Microsoft is an example of this, is they have super high lifetime value of the customer.
Yeah.
Okay. So how do they do that, right? Well, you have to have multiple reasons that they're using the platform.
Yeah.
So you're not at the mercy. Like if I'm just using Trello for task management or Skype or Teams, for example, and Slack comes out with a new feature. Oh, well, screw Teams. I'm just going to move it to Slack, right? Or whatever. So OmniDeck, I can eliminate timesheets, expense reports, your project management system, your service management system, your intranet portal, which you don't have, your file management system, right? So at some point in time, and Teams and whatever you're using to chat, so at some point in time, you may have eliminated 50% of the software as a service that you had. Well, you can't go back that way. It's very difficult when you've eliminated 3 or 4 apps, right?
Yeah.
So that's the first piece of it. The second piece is that if you commit to the intranet portal where everything in your company is an OmniDeck form, you are creating a file system. We are the file management system, which is where Microsoft is today.
Yeah.
I don't need Microsoft. We believe we're the second mover to Microsoft because just by filling out forms, you're creating your document management. It's just not a document. It's a data point. And where we see elements of that, where Microsoft is out of position here, and this is why we think OmniDeck can potentially be the second mover to Microsoft Office, is think about electronic medical records and finance tech. You would think Microsoft with 100% market share would be all over those industries, and they're nowhere to be found.
In what way? What do you mean?
They're file-based structure.
Okay.
Even SharePoint's a file sitting on a web server, right? In data, if you're looking for, think about like EMR, electronic medical records. You've got Watson, who's machine learning all the data that's being gathered through all of these visits so they can see trends for cancer identification, whatever else. You can't do that with a PDF with Dr. Scribble Scratch on it. Right? So guess what? They got off of Microsoft under government mandate, and now they're in data form.
Okay.
They call it smart data content management.
Yeah.
Well, we create that. You don't know you're doing it. You're just building forms.
From day one.
From day one.
Interesting.
So in the 90 days, I can eliminate the value of Microsoft files sitting on a server.
Gotcha.
There's no attachments, there's no email, there's none of that. So that's why when we start talking about you're checking the boxes, out in front, Portals, new frontier, cheaper, faster, can deliver in a minute. We're creating a new version of content management, and we have viral product awareness. When you start checking those boxes, you start feeling the fact that, man, a couple $100 and a couple customers in an area buying OmniDeck and building that, and you're just creating awareness of it. We think it can run, and because it's a form, it can go. We have clients that are in the finance, Bender's Community College. I mean, different industries. It doesn't matter because they have forms today. It's an easy migration at first.
So you're not picking a niche. This is
everybody.
Essentially,
And the one last thing, and this is really where when I say, I know that's the last thing.
No, hey, look, this is that you're, I think so. What we're going to do next, and I want to talk about. It seems that you talk about the lifetime value of a customer, and it seems like the customers very, very well, and so So and again, it's I know it's passionate. You're like, oh, okay, I'll stop. But no. I mean, it seems that you very clearly know the customers. I'm going to ask you that in a second, but you go ahead and finish.
Well, the last thing, this is where we get to be truly everything I've talked about. We're just copying off of people and putting it together better, right? I mean, copying off concepts, right?
Yeah.
What we do that's really inventive is that I hate the idea of a resume. for more reasons than one.
Yeah.
Is because I don't like to look at an 8.5 by 11 of what you said about yourself.
Yeah.
And try to trust that and give me 3 people to contact, which you gave me those 3 people. Give me the 15 you didn't.
Right.
So I don't like any of that. I don't like Google reviews either, because one person's bad experience when you don't have a lot of ratings can ruin your reputation on Google, right?
Zoom, that just happened to Zoom. So everyone moving to Zoom during this time, the reviews just plummeted.
Yeah.
And then, but Zoom is firing back and saying like, so they've removed some, but that is not a accurate description of the service and quality of Zoom that Zoom delivers.
Sure.
But in a moment, of course.
Right. So that being while I hate that, right?
Yeah.
The OmniDeck, because we're like business Facebook, so it's all these relationships with different companies. Your profile is not a profile. It's actually a blockchain wallet. And because we're at the ground level of the transaction, you invite someone in to submit their payment application. They prove that they've got their insurance in compliance, and they agree to do a lien waiver to achieve payment, right?
Yeah.
You pay that person on time per the contract, right? You are the project manager on that project. You're the project manager on your side. These are all events that should be registered, right? Okay, you were actually the project manager on that project. You did pay your vendor or didn't pay your vendor on time, right? These are events that we believe warrant a token or the absence of a token, which means you didn't do something you should have done. You didn't complete a project.
Like a performance token in some way.
That's right. It's a performance token. So what ends up happening...
Even to the most minimal tasks.
Minimal tasks. Because what we want to be able to show is that this is an honest representation of who this individual is.
Yeah.
Right? And then if you don't get a token, it's not up to them bashing you on whatever. Only you can respond to your missing token. So, hey, I got a bad day. Right?
Yeah.
Or, look, I got a new job opportunity. That's why I didn't complete as the project manager on the project. I started it, but I moved to this new company, right? So that's your honest representation. Now, you could have 500 defenses of yourself. That tells more of the story.
Right. But that would be an amazing way to show the consistency of an employee. I mean, I think of all the, so before this started, you had the conversation where, I truly, so my family owns a restaurant. I truly feel for these workers in our economy right now that are hurting bad from what's happening, right? Sure. But so many of them go to work every day, never miss a day, never disappoint their customer, never disappoint their boss. But when it's all said and done, what they're going to be left with is the resume game. If they lose their job, and hopefully they don't.
Sure. But
those that do, and some inevitably will, they're going to be left to the resumes. They're going to be left to going back and figuring out how to go reapply for a job and prove their worth again.
Yeah.
Now, not every job, not every in an ideal world, OmniDeck is everywhere and they track everything. But I love that idea. So how does that play out long term? Does someone can I take my reputation, my tokens
Your
with
wallet.
me?
Yeah,
my wallet. I take my wallet with me somewhere.
It's a blockchain profile, right?
Interesting.
So you never lose it. And then instead of me submitting your resume, I'm gonna say, here's my wallet.
Okay. Can someone else?
And it's at a company level too.
Okay.
At company level too, because if I'm a subcontractor and I want to go work with this company, but I want to know if this GC pays their people on time.
Yeah.
I would know their payment history because of how many their tokens, right?
Are you the first to market with this?
Huh? No.
With the idea of a performance token around.
There are people trying to do it, but everybody's trying to do it at the performance token. They're trying to do it at the blockchain level.
Okay.
And this is one of the problems with blockchain, is because no one's going down to the level of the transaction at the experience level. This is why we do BPM software. The only way you can do it is by having two validated parties doing work together and controlling that experience under, with some security level, right? So because we do that, we believe we're backing into a blockchain, potentially one of the first practical use cases of blockchain at a global level, right? But you can't just be the blockchain. Yeah. You have to be this first, and then you can back into it.
And I only ask that from the perspective of, we all carry so many different profiles, right?
Sure.
So when I ask, are the first, because my thinking is, will there be a time where we as a company, let's say, didn't directly have OmniDeck, we somehow have a profile. But the great battle I think today with a lot of data and a lot of these companies is everyone's creating their own name and name brand, and they're trying to carry that around, so that it becomes like you have all these different things to show for it.
Even to your point about you didn't create a OmniDeck profile.
Right.
You did
but
if you worked with a client that did. Just like you didn't create a DocuSign.
Right. But DocuSign knows. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Interesting.
So it's the same way.
Okay.
Like it's like it's like the coronavirus of software. You're gonna get it, man.
Yeah,
it's
we're
like
gonna get it.
Just
Oh God.
terrible.
Yeah. Too soon. It's okay. It's a little too soon.
Yeah.
But no, it's fine. It's
you gotta laugh at it a little bit.
You gotta laugh at it a little bit. It's they're like 80% of people get it. And Chris is like, well, 80% of people can get OmniDeck, one way or another.
Success. We'll take 8% of people.
Huh?
We'll take 8% of people.
Yeah, hey, 8% sounds good too. That's amazing. So let me, so this part right here, you've kind of been in that. You've really worked with the customers well here through your time, and it seems like you know them well. Yeah, you talk about finding product market fit is something that you're
Sure.
good at. How do you go about finding that? It's a slightly vague question, but you can take it in the part that you know best.
Yeah, it's selling software. Sell something to somebody.
Okay.
Right, because when you sell software to somebody, they're either going to say, "Oh, we love it," right? "We want it. Just take my money," which never happens.
Yep.
It's always like, "Well, do you have this feature? Or do you have that feature?" And like, "Well, we don't have this feature, but we do this," or whatever else. Well,
how does it work with this?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So if you just keep your ears open, you'll learn what people want.
Yeah.
Right. And that OmniDeck came from an industry, construction field services, where we come from, that was being underserved. They knew they needed web. They needed something flexible enough to be their own. Hey, we have a mechanical division and a industrial division. We can't use this for this one, but we can use it for this one. We want to use one for both, right?
Yeah.
So all of this stuff just came from it needs to be fast and pretty, and my guys can't figure out you approve these here, and then you got to go into this module and approve these here, and that my guys can't figure that out, but they can approve. They can figure out group chat and click a button, approve, right?
Yeah.
So all of these things were just years and years of being told no, or
Right.
I wish it could do this, or do you think you could maybe put this feature
Yeah.
in? And then ultimately the biggest advantage, and entrepreneurs have to realize this too, when you're building your prototype, it's okay to fail in the middle of it,
Yes.
because you're building out what it should be.
Absolutely.
Even if you got to make some compromises to get a customer happy in the prototype stage, that's fine, but you just know you're going to have to rewrite this thing.
Yeah.
But lessons learned, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's keep your ears open, man.
Yeah.
And especially the most valuable deals that I've ever gained the knowledge from were the ones that I lost. Because especially the bigger the deals, you go through these big RFPs, right? And you're talking about 250, 300 lines of, we need you to show this functionality and this. I'm like, we can't do that. We can't do that either, right?
Yeah.
But you start seeing that you'll lose a deal to somebody who can do this, right?
Yeah.
And so you're just gaining knowledge about what the industry has and, frankly, what the companies are looking for.
Absolutely.
They'll give you what they're looking for.
Yeah. And so, okay, can you take me really quick into the process of the current validation of new features? So you said something very interesting. You have a form within your own portal for everyone. I'm assuming everyone you use OmniDeck at your own business.
Hell
Of course,
yeah.
hell yeah. That's the answer. Hell yeah, hell yeah, I do. And I love that you said everyone can put in a feature request. So for those, I think there's a certain set of entrepreneurs that need to hear the product market fit side. But so for those that are building something, have built something, even us, like we just built out our product, our feature validation toolkit for ourselves internally, because we remade Mentor into an app, and it has 2 features.
Yeah.
I mean, it has things like some things we even call features, like chat, and some things that are just you can aren't new things. They're just very well easy to make. But they have 2, right? Mm-hmm. But the next ones become the difficult ones to choose. Mm-hmm. What's your process, if any, or thinking around taking that new feature request, taking hundreds of ideas likely over time, and deciding that one?
Yeah. So I don't think there's a straightforward answer, because I think that there's 2 parts of that. The first of which is that a customer doesn't know where you're headed.
Yeah.
And we have a big problem with that too, because if I told a customer what they're buying, hey, you're building the future of business communications, a multi-enterprise portal network built on blockchain, they would say, I just want my expense report. Like, what? You see what I mean? So, and even investors, it's hard to explain to what we do as an investor, because they're like, it looks like a nothing burger. So the first piece of that is that you want to get all their information, So we allow customers to submit feature requests. Any interaction that whether it's services or support or whatever, interacting with the customer, they're going to take notes from that meeting and potentially put in a feature request. That's a good thing therapeutically for a customer to know that a company's listening to their requests, right? But then usually they're requesting things that are inherently make it better, right? And so where we have to be careful with is that we don't have modules in our software. So they may want a feature that, hey, we wish it did this specifically. Well, there's nothing specific in OmniDeck. It's questions and answers, and it's on Rails. So you just build the questions however you want, right? So we have to kind of keep a lot of that in, within reason. But you also
you don't want to build a Frankenstein software.
Yeah, and you'll kill your application if you're not careful too. Yeah. So that's one of the things that we've noticed too. And one of the reasons why you have to raise enough cash to be able to do this is that if I had to, I can tell a customer, hey, this isn't a good fit. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. I want your business, but I don't need you to be a customer either, because I'm not going to deliver what you want, and you need to know that up front. Yeah. And that's okay. But because sometimes that puts the customer in a better position anyway. This is me as a sales guy. You got to reposition people too. Say, listen, this is where we're heading, and even bring them into the development cycle. And then sometimes they can say, oh, I see what you're building. Okay, I got it. And then you meet halfway and say, look, I can provide this, and this would at least give you that visibility you're looking for, or whatever else. And usually you can work through it, right? But again, if you just do one thing, like I'm just the expense report provider, you better do that feature, right? But if you do expense reports and time and all the other processes, they're willing to work with you a lot more because, I'm using everything else, so we'll punt on this form. And that's why we say 50% of software.
But it does seem valuable that they can at least give you their feedback. Sure, that's huge. On the flip side of that cash, really quick, does actually having enough cash to test matter too, right? I mean, you have... because maybe not today. Maybe you're not
to test what? Oh, to test
to test features. And maybe that's not in the your immediate needs, right? But is that something you view later on, right?
Testing features is of course you test them post development, but they don't make it through to the application until they've been vetted the hell out of it.
Sure.
And so we don't. So the way we look at it is that if we deem it's a thing, then we're gonna get behind it because this is a feature. And we've had really cool features that we didn't anticipate come up. Yeah. And software's better for it. You know. And we don't ever hey, let's put this thing out there and see how they like it.
Well, do you ever test it with a subgroup or like the person who actually asked for it and say, hey, here's this won't go live, telling you up front, but you mentioned this. We put a little quick thing together. What do you think of it? Is there
We do, and this might just be me being sensitive to not wanting to go down too far, but Cade Cooper is our chief marketing officer, but he's also our UI UX guy, and he does a really good job of mocking up screens for us.
Yeah. So UI UX and marketing. Mm-hmm. There you go, man. Yeah, so hey, a lot of hats. I heard that.
Great. So I can generally, being the sales guy too, show them, hey, this is what we're thinking about. What do you think about this? And here's what it would do and whatever. So before I go drop it into the dev cycle, it's either going to work for or not. And also, you want to make sure that customer's committed too.
Absolutely.
But yeah.
Okay. Hey, so look, there's so many lessons there. I think that you can leave people with, and I guess let me leave this to you then. So, given all this experience that you've had, everywhere from doing something you didn't like to having to give up on your dream and changing and being where you are now, is there something that you would leave with entrepreneurs, especially let's even center it to entrepreneurs here in Baton Rouge? Because one of the reasons I even started StartupGrind is because I have a belief that there's potential here. Mm-hmm. We want to do everything in our power to stay here, but we're only as strong as the community around us. Mm-hmm. I'm probably a little too passionate sometimes about people. I don't care what their ideas. I'm just just try it. I don't want to push them along. I want to try to help, drive that in some way. And you're someone they look up to as well. Thoughts? Is there something that you think here in Baton Rouge we could learn from?
Yeah. So entrepreneurs here have to be very careful to not handicap their vision based upon the dollars available to them. And this is a very important thing that I had to learn. And if you were to go look in Silicon Valley, they'll dream up whatever the hell they want. and they'll go in there and they've got to get a big board member who came from Facebook or Google
Yeah.
or whatever, and they'll go raise $50 million. And guess what? They'll be able to spend 2 years in development and build it out, right? And they have confidence in the management team to pull it off, and that's how they go build these massive ass companies, right? I mean, Uber was, that was, hey, we're never going to make money, right? But let's raise $20 billion and see what happens, right? So if you're not careful here, you're going to end up, you can get your vision stifled based off of what you can do with dollars available. And what I've always tried to do is ask, anytime there was a major decision point in our couple of years here, it was always, would I be making this decision if I had unlimited dollars? And that's always been a double check for me. Am I making a good decision or a cheap person decision?
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
And there's been times where I said, I can't make this decision. I have to go raise money. And then I can make that decision. Our pivot, this was an absolute pivot, and it was 4 months after I got that $900,000 check. 4 months.
Wow.
And literally the second board meeting was me talking about, hey, I need more money. That proved to be the best decision I ever made, and it's because I was sitting in a meeting looking at server timeouts because we had started to gain traction. And I said, this is going to be hell on earth if we don't fix it now. And I took it on the chin for really 2 years at the board level, but it was the decision I had to make.
Yeah.
And if you look at that as a decision point, I could have said well, we'll just get to revenue and we'll be making a couple $100,000, maybe even $1 million a year.
Yeah, then we'll pull some money out and we'll fix it later.
And try to fix it down the road. The system wouldn't be what it is, right? We may never have gotten to that point because we've lost so many customers because of maybe just not happy with it, poor performance, whatever else. So I think that if you let that guide you, there's no such thing as a perfect entrepreneur, right? There's no such thing as a perfect round either. We have 31 shareholders. We have people that give us, $10,000 because they got it in some old 401k or whatever else. Yeah. We don't care, but if it's helping our vision get to where it is, it's just kind of a stubborn thing. But if you have a vision, don't let cash cripple it or stymie it or stifle it, I guess is probably a better word.
Yeah.
Just try to make sure that you're making good decisions, because at some point in time, as much as we say, oh, we love this idea or it's our passion or whatever else, it's only your passion. Yeah. It's not your board of directors' passion. Yeah. They have multiple ones, right? And what happens is when you start looking at, we're talking about product versus company, right? It's never about the product. Like the product it could be the pet rock. It doesn't matter what it is. It better make money or it's a hobby. That's how, and you may not feel that way, but every investor you ever come across, that's how they're thinking, right?
Absolutely.
So I think that you just kind of gotta, if you're an entrepreneur, you're in the business. This is just what it is. So learn to love it and go find the cash that it takes you to really pull off what you're trying to do. And your application will be better for it, or you fail and you didn't spend a lot of your money, you spent other people's.
Absolutely. And be okay with failing.
It's okay, man.
We're a little prideful, I think.
Yeah.
We'd be okay with a little more failing.
OmniDeck, there hasn't been a day where I woke up and said, man, that worked out. Not one time. It's just crazy. It was 3.5 years. Yeah. Every dollar I ever raised was not what I was really trying to get, and it was always less than what I wanted, or it came with stipulations I didn't want or whatever else. But you look up and then here you are. You've got it to this point. So you just got to be ready to.
You can't underestimate that resiliency, the drive to go at it every single day, and I'm sure that's what brought you here, and it's definitely showing. So thank you, man. I have a quick fire round. Sure. Take maybe 10 seconds or less. Some are yes or no. Okay. Business plan or pitch deck?
Pitch deck.
Okay. Beer or wine?
Wine.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Children. I get it. Yeah, children. I hear you. Co-working space, yes or no?
No.
No. Why?
Because if you got people focused, don't distract them. Heads down.
Interesting. Accelerator program. Preferable?
For some people.
For some.
Yeah, for some people I think for more, if you're super tech, gaining that knowledge, but you can't fake, career. And it's not. I don't want to. It's not that technical people aren't charismatic or whatever else, but knowing how to do it, it depends on how you want to learn. You want to learn the right way in an accelerator, or B, do you want to pitch to 150 people and then kind of make it better each and every time, get their feedback and no's, then ultimately get it. That's how I did. I probably should have gone to an accelerator.
Sure.
But
okay. Hey, fair enough.
Yeah.
your first round, convertible note, safe, or how do you go about
It was
it?
a friends and family, $250,000 for a quarter of the company.
Okay. Do you go fast, or do you go fast and raise money and go fast, or go slow and build revenue?
Ooh. I'm not a huge revenue guy,
Okay.
which our board hates.
Yeah.
But you got to build it right.
Yeah.
And
Your board's Baton Rouge too, really big. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, and I think a lot of it, if you're building a lifestyle company
Okay.
and you want a $10, $15 million exit, sure, do whatever you want to do,
Yeah.
right? But yeah, if you're building something to scale,
Yeah.
don't half-ass the build, because you're just going to get caught with your pants down the road.
Gotcha,
Right,
okay.
so just make sure that doesn't happen.
Okay.
And I don't want to talk too long, but I always remind my guys, whenever they're building anything for their department, whatever else, is that at some point in time there's going to be a dude from Silicon Valley who flew into Baton Rouge, and they're looking at this company, and I'm going to walk them through these halls, and don't embarrass me. Right, like that's the reality of it.
Yeah.
So whatever you're doing, you better make sure it's investigated, you've checked it, double checked it, triple checked it, right? So
Yeah.
because at some point in time you're going to have to answer for it, whether they're looking under the hood of the tech stack or they're looking at the OCX or customer experience department.
Sure.
They want to see quality.
Okay. The most important of all, sushi or tacos?
Sushi, all day long.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chris, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks for.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
We're not. Yeah. Thanks so much for
It's
everything.
involved.
Really appreciate your time, and
Sure.
really looking forward to getting this poster for everybody. And if you have questions at the end, we're gonna go to Q&A right after this. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks.
Cool. Appreciate it.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.